The Jolly series has been running for a long time. As of recording this video, it's been running for about 7 years, started by Ivan G. And at the age of 13 years old, so just turning to a teenager, he created and developed one of the biggest fan game characters of all time, Jolly the Bee, with no last name. Personally, I've been following this series ever since Jollibees came out, and went back and played the original games that have come out, with a new one coming out soon, 2024, Jolly 4. And just to clarify, this video is going to be mainly discussing the gameplay and not intended to discuss the story in any type of way, but I will be discussing story beats throughout. Jolly 1 was the first game that came out back in October 4th of 2016 on the PC and January 1st of 2017 for the mobile. This was a strong and efficient start and takes place around the time of fnaf 3, about 2017 in-game lore, and was located within Jolly's fantasy world. There's a clear inspiration from fnaf 3 in this game when you play it. There's a lot of, like, the office is similar, and even the cameras and side panels, very minor stuff that when you notice and compare, you can tell a difference and similarities. Unlike fnaf 3, however, different animatronics other than just the one threat. You have Jolly, Tweety, Maxie, George, and Antoinette. I believe I'm saying that wrong, but whatever.
Antoinette.
And most of them act similar. They just move from their storage area and move to the door, basic FNAF formula. But Jolly won't kill you, and Antoinette will work like the puppet where you need to watch her over the camera, and instead of just winding up the music box, you just have to fix her wires. And another thing is that this game has post-night minigames, which becomes a staple in like almost every single FNAF game related whatsoever, and I kind of enjoy them. And other than the animatronics and the minigames, the story is a key part here, but doesn't really get focused this early on into the series. Games like Jolly 3 will take the story into a much heavier route than as of now. In summary, this entry was a good start to the series and effective in many ways that got people like myself hooked on. But sadly, lightning doesn't strike twice in the same place, especially when you're discussing about Jolly 2. The second one in the Jolly franchise was released on December 2nd of 2016, only 2 months after the last game. It's not terrible a game, like it's not like horrendous or painful, but it's definitely not as good as the first. This game is the first one chronologically within the timeline. This time there are only Jolly and George from the first game, but there are now the 4 other original animatronics: Freddy, Foxy, Chica, and Bonnie. Tweety and Maxie weren't made yet at this point of the timeline, so that's the in-canon universe explanation as to why they're not there. But in the gameplay change this time, instead of doors, we have electrical charges that were made that we could use to shock the animatronics back to their quote-unquote stages, which is really just their loading docks. But anyway, you just shock them back. You could do that in the camera and in the door. The camera just stuns them, but the door is the one that you really want to focus on. The nights, though, I'll admit, were inconsistent. They were like very slow, and then suddenly on night 3, all like Jolly, George, and Bonnie, I believe, were the ones that just all came at once, and they like were aggressive. Like before, they just kind of sat there, but now they were like intense. But the gameplay will just get repetitive after a bit, and there's only 2 things to watch for: the cameras, like the animatronics, or fixing the pipes. And it's just a whole bunch of waiting, and it's just not really that exciting or intriguing. You have to fix the pipes, since if you don't, you can't shock the animatronics, which will just result in a game over, since that's your defense against them. But much like the first game, this game also had post-night minigames that explain the lore. This game, in all sense of the word, is just a step down from Jolly 1, which can make sense. This was made in only like 2 months, but it was just a road bump in the series as a whole when considering that Jolly 3 was up next. The third time around for this series was split into 2 separate parts, Chapter 1 and Chapter 2. Chapter 1 was released in September 14th of 2017, nearly a whole entire year after the last game came out in December. This game was a major step up from the previous game, in my honest opinion, which greatly justifies the year-long gap between the entries. As mentioned previously, this game has a larger focus on the story, and it's shown within just the first few seconds. There are opening cutscenes. There were in the previous game, so this one has voice acting, And characters aren't just tutorials that just tell you what to do. They have personalities, and the minigames themselves have a whole lot going on, showing what happened with the events of all the games and how the purple guy caused all the problems for this series as a whole. There are now 8 animatronics this time around instead of 6 or 4. So there are Withered George, Maxie, Tweety, and Jolly, and Metal, Bonnie, Chica, Freddy, and Foxy. The metal animatronics are similar to the Phantoms from FNAF 3, but because they're just hallucinations, and the only thing they'll really do is just stun you for a second. But the Withered animatronics are like the other animatronics that you know from FNAF. They'll just kill you when they get their hands on you. This time around, in order to stop the animatronics, you gotta use some electric gas. Not entirely sure what it's called, but it's gas that will fry the wiring of the robots that try and get in, so it'll just send them back. But as addition to all the chaos, there are now post-night minigames. Instead of just the regular 8-bit video games, you got like stuff like finding a key or a safe or trying to hack something. There are a few, like I just mentioned, the hacking, which is just completely and utterly dumb and bullshit. No dancing around that. You just gotta be patient, but you can't because he's rushing you, and the longer you take, the more you'll lose, so that's just silly. But other than a few bumps, very minor, this is what I thought about one of the best, if not the best, game in the entire franchise. The second one, Chapter 2, isn't nearly as good yet again.
Chapter 2 was released almost an entire year again, this time releasing in June. Much like Jolly 2, this one was not as good as their previous game, but wasn't nearly as bad as the second one. This game feels like it's just being hard for the sake of just being hard and fueling runtime. There was just a lot of waiting and guessing in this game, which personally I don't like in a FNAF game. And this time, instead of doors and a switch, you literally just press a single button. You just press a button and they go away, or maybe they don't, and if they don't, then fucking game over, GG. Instead of having 4 animatronics to deal with, you just have 2 now. But somehow, the bullshit just cranks up to 11. The enemies are just George and Jolly, like Jolly 2. But you can't see them when they enter the office. You can only guess via the cameras, and then maybe some other sound cue, maybe I missed it. I don't know. But you have to guess, which is just silly and dumb, since there's nothing that it does other than just add red time, which is ridiculous by any sense of the word. However, the story in this game is even better than previously, and you can move throughout the facility like in the post-game minigame, but instead of having an objective, you're trying to hide and run from the animatronics, which first time I've ever experienced a game like that, not counting Joy of Creation, which I really did enjoy and thought that was exciting. What I didn't like though were the other post-night situation, which was just to quote-unquote hack the computer. And it was just FNAF 4 all over again, right, to hear breathing and all that. But the part I didn't like was the fact that it takes forever, and I mean forever, just to download these files. I have no idea why, but I spent nearly half of the time and I was bored out of my mind. Probably because of my brain rot, because of modern games like Doom or whatever. But I swear to God, these games just got boring so fast. I'm not usually one that gets bored that easily, but this game managed to push me. There isn't much else to really say about this game other than the visuals were next level, honestly. Even beat Jolly 3, which in itself was a major step up. Not Joy of Creation levels of good, but just a very good result of where the series has been. This game was a major miss. It was better than Jolly 2, but it was tying with Jolly 1 in my opinion in terms of gameplay and all that, taking everything in. After this game, I even switched up the stories to a re-sequel. Hey, that's my name. These next 2 games are part of a duology that was named right after the Jollibee's franchise. This game released August 3rd of 2019 and didn't come out with a mobile port unlike all the other games. Ironically enough, the series got kicked off due to legal issues, so they technically aren't canon, or at least the canonicity of it is up in the air. The whole crew from the series, as it looks like, is here from, the Jollibee's crew. You got Jollibee now, same name basically, but different appearance. Twirly, Yum, Popo, and Hetty. This takes place in the year 2035, which is way after Jolly 3. The mechanics are, alright. They are essentially what you're gonna get from a basic FNAF game. It's just really easy, competitive stuff. Nothing much to really talk about there. There are two that go to the door and 2 go to the vent. I'm gonna take care of the door. You just gotta turn off the lights, and the only people that go there are Twirly and Jollibee. And for the Hetty, you just have to flash the light, and it's basically it for defense. This game has several different endings this time around instead of like 1 or 2. And then post-night mini games, and the game overall was alright. Didn't really do anything special, so there's nothing much else to really say. It was just more of the traditional FNAF formula with a modern reskin. However, Jollibee's 2, which released April 8th of 2020, was also taken down, but this takes place the year 2037, and it's the final game in the Jolly franchise timeline, if we're considering this canon. This game has play style that I've never seen before. They really took their time with this game. Nearly everything about the game is different. There are several different mini games, defenses, and now upgrades, which is cool. Gives a nice change of pace. For the games, there were box transport, checking, printing, and driving. And you can now hide from the animatronics, which is a little thing, but it just makes it a lot more interesting for me. And the animatronics are the same as last time, but just with added dust, so nothing really exciting going on there. This game was better than Jollibee's 1, but Jolly 1 and 3 are still the best in the series in my opinion. When looking back at the series as a whole, these games were definitely some of the most fun I have ever had in a series, period. Honestly earns the title of one of the best fan game franchises, and this game series has a clear level of passion and effort put into every single one of these, except maybe Jolly's 2, but besides that, anybody that hasn't played these games should definitely at least once in their life take their time and try it. They're free and small, so you can literally down them on a shoelace. They give Lego a run for their money. And with Jolly 4 coming out soon, which is soon, very loosely, coming out in 2024 as planned, it looks really cool. And with that is the end of the video. I hope you guys enjoyed. Try out the Jolly series and have a good day.